Let's talk Tanya for the first of Elul of a leap year. In yesterday's Tanya, we explained that although Torah and mitzvahs are expressions of God's kindness, of His chesed, but they enter the gevura first, God's attribute of severity, in order to limit them, in order that they should be able to make their way into the Torah and mitzvahs as they exist in our limited world. Which explains why mitzvahs have limitations. I'll try to give several examples of this. A shofar, or tzitzis, or a lulav, all of them have minimum lengths to them. A mikvah has a minimum amount of water that it has to contain in order to be a kosher mikvah. Now, although these are minimums, not maximums, you can have a shofar that's as long as you want, or you can have a mikvah which is the size of an Olympic swimming pool if you wish. But the extra doesn't add anything to the mitzvah. If you add in, you immerse in a mikvah which is the size of a swimming pool, you're not any more pure than if you immerse in a mikvah which has the minimum amount, the 40 sa'ah of water. If you have a very, very long lulav, you didn't fulfill the mitzvah any more than if you have the mitzvah which is the minimum length. And that's because all the mitzvahs enter our world, which is a limited world, and therefore they have inherent limitations to them. This is true not only in terms of size, but also in terms of time. The Alter Rebbe explains how in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, when we brought karbanas, sacrifices, so the animals that were brought as sacrifices, they had to be a certain age. There was a minimum age, there was a maximum age. Also tzedakah. Tzedakah, there is a minimum, which is 10%. We're supposed to get, and that is the minimum amount that a person is supposed to give to charity is 10% of their earnings. There's also a maximum. If you want to do the mitzvah even better, the maximum is 20%. And this is because all of these mitzvahs are meant to draw down this finite light of God. This finite light of God, the chesed as it enters gevura, is known as chesed olam, God's kindness, which is intended for our world. However, all of this works only for someone who's a tzaddik. For someone who's never messed up, someone who has always done the right thing, done the mitzvahs, draws down the light, does that exactly as intended. And that's exactly what we're supposed to do over here in this world, is draw down the light. Which light? The light that comes through the mitzvahs, which is the limited light. But someone who messed up, someone who missed out on mitzvahs they should have done, that creates a void and a vacuum because there was light. There was divine energy, which your soul came down here into this world to bring down. You didn't do it. How do we fill that void? For that, chesed olam, the limited kindness of God, is not enough. For that, we need to reach to a higher level of chesed, which is called the Rav Chesed. The great chesed, or the infinite kindness of God, which is not in any way lessened or contracted through gevura, through God's severity. And because that energy and because that light is infinite, when it enters into this world, it fills up all the voids and all the vacuums that were created through a person not doing a mitzvah. Because it's infinite, it can fill up anything and everything. And this is why our sages tell us that a Baal Tshuva is greater than a tzaddik, which seemingly is difficult to understand. You have one person who's perfect, never messed up. Then there's another person who messed up and then fixed up, cleaned up the spill. Why is the person who messed up and then cleaned up the spill, why is that person in a better space or in a higher place than the person who never messed up in the first place? At the most, you would think that person has arrived back at the space and it's as if that person never did anything wrong. But now we understand. In order to do tshuva, it's not enough to draw down the chesed olam into the world. That's what a tzaddik does. The perfect person is constantly engaged in drawing down the limited light of God, the limited kindness of God to the world through the Torah mitzvahs that he or she does. A Baal Tshuva necessarily has to reach deeper. And the Baal Tshuva has to reach the infinite light. And because the Baal Tshuva connects to the infinite light of God, that gives them an advantage over the tzaddik. What does all of this have to do with tzedakah? And tzedakah is the larger topic of this letter. We'll find out the answer to that, God willing, in tomorrow's Tanya.